Another Chipotle Nationals is in the books. The Columbus Explorers have reigned supreme in Indy, and here to break it all down, give us a great recap. My man, Paul Biancardi, director of ESPN recruiting. To Paul, how you doing, my man?
Doing great this morning, Jason. Can you believe the high school basketball season is now officially over? What an ending. What a
Oh my
season.
goodness. Yeah. Fitting in so many things to jump into at Chipotle Nationals. I think we should start with, man, let's start with, we were having this conversation on the side, and I was wondering, is this the best Chipotle Nationals top to bottom, all things considered, Paul? I mean, you've been to all of them like me. Is this the best one that you've ever been to, top to bottom?
You mean in terms of talent or in terms of the
D-
games playing out?
Games played, moments, crowd, just all that, all that. That's the criteria.
All right. When I think about Chipotle Nationals, I think a couple of things. First of all, I think of 2019.
Yes, me
IMG
too.
and Montford semifinal. IMG got the W. Josh Green and company, right? Jaden Springer.
Yeah.
That was just an awesome game. And IMG, pulled off the massive upset.
Oh
And,
man.
and they went on to win Chipotle Nationals that year.
Yeah.
And then I go back, and you remember this one, Oak Hill at
Oh
Madison
yeah.
Square Garden. I'm
Oh
on
yeah.
the call with Mike Cousins,
Yeah.
Steve Smith trying to get his first one,
Uh-huh.
Hadim C with the tip in at the buzzer.
Tough.
And
Yeah.
it was beautiful, man. It was 2 o'clock in New York on a Saturday afternoon, and
Yeah.
I've never seen so many people hyped up
I'm
in
with
my
you.
life at MSG. So those two moments for me, and then last year you go back to Montverd's dominance.
Yeah, for sure.
It for me it's cool to watch somebody dominate. We all want that last minute tip in or
Yeah,
the
yeah.
upset. We all love that, right? But to me, I understand like how hard it is to dominate your opponent every game
Yeah.
in tournaments. And Montverde was pretty special last year,
That's very
as was Columbus this weekend,
yes.
this past weekend. I mean, they took everyone's best shot. The number one seed always does. And they responded with professionalism. They responded with team play and a championship. Those Boozer twins and company are
Yeah.
really, really special.
Well, that's a great segue because I want to know what is your top shout out to Andrew Moran and Cam and
Oh,
Caden.
shout
Don't
out.
get me starting naming names. I'm gonna get in trouble, but all those guys,
Yeah.
Class A, obviously they lived up to the hype, even exceeded the hype. To your point, what were some of your best moments at Chipotle this year?
Well, first of all, dynamic. Let's give dynamic prep
No
the
doubt.
flowers, the attention. What's the word everyone likes to use, right? Love,
Right.
just massive respect from my
Yeah,
point of view. Jermaine O'Neal first of all, I said this on the air. Jermaine O'Neal is an awesome person. We know that
for
from
sure.
dealing with him. But he's an excellent basketball coach. Like
Amazing.
when you talk about strategy, player development,
Yeah.
when I watch him coach and teach and strategize, I mean, he knows the game from playing it, being an all-star. But
Yeah.
it's really hard, Jason, for former players, NBA players, to be coaches because they just don't have the patience, right? Because they
True.
were so good at playing. Now they got to teach it, and the kids don't grasp it as quickly, and sometimes they
Yeah.
lose their patience. But I'm going to go Jermaine O'Neal, dynamic prep.
Yeah.
They came in as the 10 seed, which is still top 10 in the country. I don't agree with them when they say they were undervalued. I thought they fit right where they belonged. But I'll tell you what, man, they were an impressive group of
Yeah.
kids, and they played an impressive brand of basketball. They
Yeah.
really did. I enjoyed watching them play.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the low hanging fruit on my top moment, Paul. I'm gonna talk about Caden Boozer with 6 seconds left. He takes the ball in bounds. He told me after the game I was never gonna pass. I was never gonna pass the ball. I don't know why people were calling for the ball. I was always gonna take the shot, and he did take the shot. Over 6'9", Sebastian Wilkins, who had just made a
Yeah.
three, and he said, "This is Caden, not me." Even Andrew Rand said, "This is crazy that you said that." Caden said it was an easy shot for him. That's what he said. Not my words, not my words. So that's my top moment. Buzzer beaters that sent him to the Chipotle
Oh yeah,
Nationals title
that's
game. Yeah,
that was a layup for you. I was gonna go there, but I wanted to give you the rite
yeah,
of passage.
yeah.
Hey, big shout out to Andrew Moran.
Bad,
not
bad,
calling a
bad. Yeah.
timeout, not
Yes.
calling a timeout,
Yes.
because the worst that could have happened is overtime.
Right. Absolutely.
He makes
Yeah.
the shot, they win it.
Yeah, and kudos to him because he said his assistants were kind of saying, "Hey, let's call it, let's call it." And he was like, "No, no, 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 no. Don't let the defense set up." He wanted to, catch them off guard, give them their best chance. And Caden was saying the same thing walking to the interview. So yeah, definitely shout out to them. Well, you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but best, and this is, I don't want to get you in trouble or get me in trouble. Best, we'll do it like this: some of the best coaching adjustments. You're a coach. Some of
Yeah.
the best coaching adjustments that you saw at Chipotle Nationals. What were they?
Well, the big one that stood out to me was Jason Smith to Brewster.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
The game plan going into Columbus was on point.
yeah.
They had to slow the game down. Tempo was the biggest factor in that game. Columbus wants to play, a faster brand of basketball because they have
True.
great rebounders with Boozer and company. They have one of the best point guards in the country with Caden Boozer. So they like to run, and the talent can score. They have other guys that can finalize in transition. And Jason Smith said, "You know what? We got to muck up this game. We got to make this game choppy."
Yes.
And they did it by changing defenses. They played a 2-3 zone. They played a little 3-2, and then they switched out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't straight zone; it was a switching zone. Then they played straight up man to man. And
Yeah.
then on the offensive end, really smart shot selection. When you have good shot selection, Jason, you have a good rhythm on offense, and that allows you on the miss to get back. When dudes are putting up shots that nobody knows is coming, that's when you get beat for layups. So
Absolutely.
I thought Jason Smith did an outstanding job in game preparation, game execution with his team, and his team just followed the game plan
That's a good
exactly
one.
the way that they came up with it. And if not for Caden Boozer, who
Yeah.
knows what would have happened in overtime?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a go. I won't say strat, but I guess this is a strategy. It was one Jermaine O'Neal gave me. I had never heard this perspective. In the semifinals when they beat Prolific Prep, they were up big most of the game. So we're walking in the back hallway, me and Jermaine, and he said, I was really upset. Jermaine's intense, right? On the sidelines he is, but off the sidelines he's like the nicest guy in the world. So he said,
Yes.
I was so upset with him. Yeah, we were up big, but he said what I was telling them was you got to think about everybody who's in the gym. He didn't say this, but in essence, what he was saying was, yeah, we're going to win this game, right? But we're not sending the right message to whoever we're playing next. We're not putting no fear in them. We're actually giving them confidence because they're seeing that we're susceptible in different situations. So we're not sending. I just like that he was thinking futuristically, even in the midst of a game, even up 15, 20. A game that he's obviously going to win. He's really intense and upset thinking about the next move. So I thought that was a real good Jim.
Well, NBA guys do that. The
Yeah.
guy I played for, Tom Thibodeau, you notice he keeps the starters in
Mm.
and he makes a statement every game.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out too to Jermaine O'Neal and someone else, but the defense they played on Prolific Prep.
Tough.
I mean, the game
Intense.
plan again, game plan make it hard for Peterson, deny him the ball at times. Everything was
Yeah.
contested. He scored points, but he had to earn all those points, and he was a high volume guy that day. So I kind of thought that Jermaine had the right game plan, and the kids executed that game plan just like Brewster's kids did against Columbus.
Yeah.
And Prolific Prep did a really good job against
Yeah.
Lehigh. I thought Lehigh with those four guards were going to be really tough to beat in this
Yeah.
tournament. And the way Ryan Bernardi had his team ready for that game, all the coaches had their team ready, but they just played a brand of basketball that they had to play
Yes, they did.
against Lehigh. They controlled the action. They did a good job on their execution. I thought they were solid and sound
Yeah.
against Lehigh. And, Lehigh is not going to beat themselves. You have to go out and beat them.
For sure. Yeah, definitely shout out to Ryan Bernardi. Told me after the game, we always bring excitement. Win, lose, or draw, we're going to bring an exciting game. Let me ask you this, because this is what everybody, wants to know whether they admit it or not, right? Because you guys, we got another, ESPN has another ranking. This is the final player rankings, right? Coming out.
Yeah,
Uh,
we got our final ESPN 100 for the class of 2025.
yes.
Then we launched the new classes right after that, 2026, 2027, and yes,
Yeah.
2028.
Woo, that's fun, right? So
Yeah.
let's talk about this, this graduating senior class. How much weight does a Chipotle Nationals run and faring well and producing in Chipotle Nationals on the biggest stage? How much weight do you put in that when you're considering your rankings?
Well, I don't think it changes the ranking. It just gives you more information, right? More intel, more evaluation. Big moments,
Yeah,
heated moments, under pressure, guys trying to help their team win a championship.
right.
So you examine all that, but
Yeah,
this is all a book on. Everyone has a book, and everyone has a chapter in the book, and this is the final chapter. You do look at what kids do under pressure with their team
for sure.
to win a championship. Some guys played really well in losses, and some guys didn't play that great in wins.
Yeah,
But you evaluate everything, and you go back to what they've done all season long. EYBL Scholastic, that was a big week.
yeah,
Regular season
huge.
games,
Yeah.
non-conference games. Go back to the City of Palms. You look at the growth or lack of growth, and you come up with your evaluations. You got your criteria.
Yeah.
I think I know where you're going with the next question too.
Yeah. I'm gonna put you on the spot because there's been a carousel in the top three. Well, not really the top, but the top two and three with AJ DeBonsa, Darren Peterson, and Cam Boozer. So this is what the streets want to know, Paul. This is what the streets want to know.
I grew up in the streets. What
Yes, you
street is
did.
this?
This is the recruiting streets, right? So they're a little
Okay.
nicer, right?
This is the soft street. Go ahead.
Soft street, big soft. All right, so Cam Boozer, I'm hearing thrown around, winningest player of all time, every accolade you could imagine. I don't have the breath to talk about all the awards this guy has racked up, right? He's a winner, no doubt about it. Can Cam Boozer, he is a national champ. He is the Gatorade Player of the Year and all this stuff. He has won everything. I mean, he can't win anything else, right? The guy can't win anything else. Can he potentially eclipse AJ DeBonsa? I think he's at number three right now. I guess and Darren Peterson. Could he eclipse them and jump to number one? Is that possible?
I think movement is possible, Jason,
Okay.
in the top three. Last year, I mean, it was really hard. Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey, Dylan
Tough.
Harper,
Tough.
VJ Edgecombe.
Yeah.
VJ
Yeah.
ended up,
Yeah.
VJ went to number three.
Yeah.
There's a lot of criteria that goes into it, and everyone said, "Well, what's the criteria?" Well, that's a whole Zoom call.
Right.
Winning, helping your team win is part of it. First of
Sure.
all three are number one players.
No
You
doubt
put
about it.
them in other classes, just like you do with Dylan Harper, right? Ace Bailey, they'd be number one in other classes. The problem was Cooper Flagg was in front of them.
Yeah. 100%.
So in this class, it's what their high school resume says. Where can they impact in college? Will they impact in college? After next week, you can only forecast.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then obviously the NBA draft is a part of it as well. And it's a pretty big part of it. It's not the end all be all, because then it would be a draft board. It's not a draft board.
Right.
But these three guys, in my opinion, will be fighting it out for the number 1, 2, and 3 spot.
Indeed. Well, we will all be waiting with bated breath, Paul. Shout
Oh,
out once again to the 2025 Chipotle Nationals champs, the Columbus Explorers, Andrew Durant, Cam Boozer, Caden Boozer. I'm naming names again. I'm about to get in trouble. Let me get out of here, Paul, before I get in trouble and get a call right now. Paul,
yeah.
thanks once again for joining us to break it all down.
Jason, thank you. And the last thing, class of 2025, best class I've seen in the last decade or two.
Ooh, hot
Tremendous
take.
class of talent.
Hot
Tremendous.
take it in. There it is. Leaving it there with Paul Biancardi. Thanks again, Paul.
All right, Jay. Thank you.